Bechoros Daf Chav Beis. If a larger animal miscarries a loaf of blood, that indicates to us that she was pregnant, and in the loaf there's a disintegrated fetus, and therefore her next pregnancy is patur from Bechora. The Gemara explains, Rabbi Yochanan explains, that you must bury this loaf of blood to announce to everybody that she gave birth and there's no chiyuv b'chayra. But on the one hand, you say this loaf is a fetus. On the other hand, if one touches this loaf, they don't become tamei like they would become tamei if they touched a nevela. Why not? If it's a fetus, they should become tamei. Explains Rabbi Yochanan, because it's batal b'roiv. You're right, there's a fetus here and it's disintegrated, but there's a lot more blood than fetus, and therefore it's batal b'roiv and you don't become tamei. We find a similar halacha. Reb Shimon holds that a woman who miscarries an afterbirth in a house, there's no tumas oil in the house. Why? Because we say that what she miscarried was disintegrated and it's batal b'roiv and everything else that she miscarried it with. Chacham argue and they say there's no afterbirth without a fetus and therefore it is mitama the house. If a woman's fetus dies in utero, she's not mitama anything. Why? There's a dead baby in her. Because the concept of tuma blua, it's swallowed within her, it's not mitama. But once she dilates, once her womb opens, then it is mitama if the fetus's head has a certain shear. What is the shear? Says the Gemara, like a pika. Pika is a whirl, it's a counterbalance on a spindle, and there are different spindles. The spindle basically creates a thread, you put wool on top and you spin it. To create a better spin, you put a cylinder on the bottom and it spins better. But the thicker the thread is, the larger the counterbalance has to be. So there's three shiurim of these counterbalances. One is for a shesi, one is for erev, and one is for larger sacks. So Reb Meir holds that the fetus is mitama if it's the size of a shesi, which is the smallest size. Rabbi Yehuda says the size of an erev, which is the medium size. What do you use the larger size for? Use it to tell us if dirt that comes from chutz la'aretz or from Beis HaProsais, there's a place that you don't know where the body was buried, it's mitama if it's the size of the large one, which is also the size of an earthenware jug that, similar to this picture, I guess, that it's wide, the cover is wide on the bottom, but it tapers off on the top, and that's where you grab, the top part that you grab, that's the size. There's another shita, when it comes to fetus in a woman, it's when the womb opens up, like when a mule crouches to relieve herself, you could see into the womb, you see folds of skin. When you see that, then you know that the tumah is able to escape out of the woman into the house. New sugya, brine of the fish brine, consists of water and brine. The brine itself can never be mekabel tumah because the Gemara calls it zeya ba'alma. It's just sweat that comes off of the fish. Water can be mekabel tumah, but there's a way to be machshir, to be metar water that became tameh. It's called a hashaka. You take the water and you touch it to a mikvah. The top part of the water in the cup or in the pail touches the top part of the mikvah, and the water in the pail becomes tahar. So this brine fish, if you do a hashaka to it, and even though you bought it from Amaretz, and Amaretz is not careful with tumah, you're allowed to eat it. Says Rabbi Yirmiyah, a tremendous chiddush. You're allowed to eat it as is. You're allowed to dip stuff into it. But you cannot add that fish brine into a pot of soup, let's say, because there's so much water in the pot of soup, and that will combine with the water in the fish brine, and then it will awaken the dormant fish brine. In other words, Rabbi Yirmiyah considers the water in the brine as a dormant tumah. It's not completely tar. It's sitting there waiting, and it's only tar because it's less than the brine. But once you add a lot of water to it from the soup, then it will awaken and become tummy. Abai says no. What happened was you mevatel the tumah. You got rid of it. Once you got rid of it, you can't reawaken something that you got rid of. We have something similar, and Abai explains why it's not so similar. If somebody takes one saw of truma that was tummy and put it into 100 saw of chulin that's not tummy and it's not mukshal l'kabel tumah, never got wet, so it can't become tummy. So the halacha is, according to Rebbe Eliezer, you have to take out one saw, and we assume that the saw that you took out is the saw that fell in, and you let it spoil. Nobody could eat it. Chacham say you don't have to do that. You could eat it as is because it's batal b'roiv. The 1 into 100 is batal b'roiv. Yet, both Chachamim and Rebbe Eliezer hold that when you eat it, you cannot eat it in a way, you have to make sure that it can't become tamei. So you eat it when it's very dry, roasted, or mixed with fruit juice, which is not mekabel tuma. Or you make sure it's a size that the dough is just large enough that there's less than 1 egg of truma per dough. The question is, why can't you just treat it as chulin? Both according to Rebbe Eliezer that you took out 1 saw, and according to Chacham that it becomes bat b'roiv, let it become like regular chulin. The answer is, says the Gemara, because there's a chashash. People might treat this as magical chulin that could fix everything and make everything tar. So if somebody has 1 kav of tamei, he'll take 1 kav of this magical mixture that was tar, and add a little bit, so it's a kav and a little bit, and he'll add the two together, and now you have more tar than tamei. And that will be a mistake, says the Gemara. Why? Because in this cup of tar, you have part of the saw of truma tmei in it that went to sleep and is dormant. But now that you take the cup of tamei and you pour it into the cup of tar, it reawakens the small portion that was in the tar cup. Says Abaye, you're right. Why did it reawaken? Because you took tamei and you added it to another piece of tamei that's dormant. But in our case of fish brine, you took the soup, which is completely tar, it's not tamei, and you added it to the fish brine, which is tamei. That won't combine to make tuma. Have a wonderful day.